watching East Tennessee's first and only year-round sports talk show on television. This is The Sports Source with your host, John Pennington.
Good Sunday morning and welcome into The Sports Source. Happy to have you joining us today. Football from stem to stern today. We're talking Tennessee football, we're talking the recruiting, we're talking Nike, we're talking about Jimmy Cheek's letter to the Sentinel or guest column in the Sentinel today. A lot of stuff to get into. And also, I'll go ahead and tell you a couple of technical issues today. So don't be surprised if we're sitting here like the old Jerry Lewis telethon, just bringing people on and off on camera here. We may have some break issues. So anyway, let's get right into it. First segment of the show. Brought to you by Phil Cobble Fine Homes and Land. And when it comes to finding your next home or selling your current home, make your first call to the Cobble team. Take a look at this beautiful 4,000 square foot home in the Fox Den Golf community. For more info on this beautiful home or any other home in Knox, Blount, Loudoun County that's up for sale, call Phil Cobble Fine Homes and Land. All right. Well, I told you what some of the stuff coming up here. This is a more detailed breakdown. First of all, we're going to look at Tennessee and the SEC's early schedule. Doesn't look that great around the SEC. We'll discuss that. The hype for Nike grows. We'll get into that a little bit as Tennessee's put out a couple of teasers. Some merchandise already hitting the shelves in the area. Will Tennessee exceed expectations? We're going to tell you why they will, and then we'll tell you why they won't. The pros and cons heading into the 2015 season for Tennessee. We're going to look at the SEC. Expansion's been talked about a little bit by some national writers. Was the SEC better in 1991 pre-expansion, or is it better now? Tennessee recruiting. Is there any reason to be concerned at the moment? Satellite camps. What should Tennessee fans be hoping happens with the NCAA? And then finally, Spurrier says. We'll talk a little bit about something he said and an issue that Tennessee, for once, doesn't have to worry about. Plus, Jimmy Hyams is coming up to join these guys who are with me right now. We have freelance contributor to the Knoxville News Sentinel, Bob Hodge.
Good morning.
We have Vince Farrar from the Sports Radio WNML. I almost said Sports Animal. Sports Radio WNML. You do the sports page Monday through Friday from 10 till noon.
That's right.
Right there, Chuck Cavaleris from Southern Golf Central and SouthernGolfCentral.com. All right, fellas, we are less than 80 days away from the kickoff of the 2015 football season. Yeah. There's not much of an off season anymore. It's pretty quick. ESPN and the SEC announced this week the early TV schedules. All right. So what I wanted to show you was the first 3 weeks, just the Power 5 versus Power 5 games. There aren't many. It shouldn't take long. Week 1, here's what you got. North Carolina, South Carolina on a Thursday. Louisville versus Auburn, okay. Arizona State versus Texas A&M. Wisconsin versus Alabama. And, of course, Tennessee plays at 4 o'clock on the SEC Network, opening up in Nashville against Bowling Green. All right, so there's 4 real interconference games, Power 5 versus Power 5. Week 2, okay, well, you've got 4, but 3 of them are conference games. So really the only out-of-conference game that's Power 5 versus Power 5 is Tennessee hosting Oklahoma, which is 6 o'clock on ESPN. Then you skip forward to Week 3, South Carolina, Georgia. You got Texas Tech at Arkansas. Then the rest of these are conference games. Western Carolina will be at Tennessee. That will be on ESPNU at 7 p.m. But, of course, Western Carolina, not only are they not Power 5, they're not FBS. So my question, fellas, when you look at that list, you can make a case that Tennessee, Oklahoma might be the most interesting. Wisconsin, Alabama is up there. Auburn, Louisville, simply because of the history there with Bobby Petrino and his dealings with Auburn. But the Tennessee-Oklahoma game ranks pretty highly among those non-conference games. There aren't many good games, in my view. Thoughts?
My thought is, if you went away and it was just Power 5 teams, I think you could miss on some decent games through the line if you just went Power 5. I wouldn't mind seeing them go just Division 1A, and I know that's FBS, but I always forget that and screw it up. But if you just went Division 1, I think you would improve. You could have some pretty good non-Power 5 games in there that'd still be worth watching. But I think lose the Division 1 AA stuff.
Okay, what Bob's talking about is certainly Nick Saban has campaigned in the past for Power 5 to play Power 5 only. And we jumped ahead a little bit, but that's perfect. Roll right into that second part there. What do you think about Power 5 versus Power 5?
Well, I would like it. Maybe you could put yourself a little bit of an out and have maybe one game where you have some flexibility. I know that home date is important for a lot of the schools for that extra revenue.
A homecoming game versus
right.
Yeah.
But overall, I do think it would be best for college football. And I think with that, though, you have to partner in an expansion of the college football playoff so losses to good teams aren't as detrimental.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely sticking your toe in the water, isn't it? I mean, it's really easing into it, and there's hardly one interesting matchup a week starting out. I just think you're going to be heading that direction. It seems like so many schools are afraid of losing early because they know then if you lose in conference, you're pretty much out of the mix for some kind of title.
When you look at the teams that are on the schedule, those first couple of weeks, just week one, SEC teams will play Texas El Paso, New Mexico State, Louisiana Monroe, Louisiana Lafayette, who those two ought to, if the SEC expands again, just bring them in because they play a conference schedule anyway. McNeese State, Tennessee Martin, Southeast Missouri State, Western Kentucky.
Yes.
I mean, at some point, here's the question, and maybe you've already hit it because the number of people staying at home and watching on TV is continuing to grow. The number of people paying money to come see these games is flatline, kind of. You're not seeing the people fill up these bad games as much as you have in the past. Are we at the tipping point where schools are going to have to change what they do for ticket sales purposes, guys?
Yeah, and Vince made a great point. If you've got better teams playing more better teams, then just change the way things are done right now to where the losses, I think some of this goes back to, one, the revenue thing, and two, okay, if we bring USC in here and we lose, we may not be able to, let's go get Tennessee Martin. And I think that's where the change needs to come, to where one loss or two losses doesn't just cut your season down before you ever started.
That was actually my great point.
Was that your point? I'm sorry.
Well, is it time, though, for ticket sale purposes? Are fans starting to say, I'm not going to go to these games? Or do you think they're always going to go regardless of who you put in
from
there?
the people I've talked to, they have enough advanced ticket sales that it almost kind of hurts the concession sales because I think they're counting on we're going to have enough people there regardless in a way. Because you sold enough. What is Tennessee now, up to 60-something thousand season tickets? It's a record. So I think
the goal is 72.
Right, but but you're right. When the people stop showing up, then that's when it starts hitting them in the pocketbook, and they say, well, maybe we do need to schedule tougher games.
Okay.
I think the biggest reason, the biggest way to improve everything is win, and I know that's for Tennessee. If Tennessee wins, they're going to pack Neyland Stadium, regardless of who the opponent is. I don't think that's at the top of the list to be able to increase the revenue for football is to improve the schedule. We see it that way, but I don't think the universities or the conference looks at it that way.
Nick Saban does. Nick Saban's the only one that, I mean, he continues to be the one guy that goes out there and champions, hey, let's do this for the fans. Let's do it to improve the product.
Right.
Go ahead.
I'll disagree with Vince just a little bit, because what are the games where people can pick up tickets for nothing? It's against these lesser teams. Now, if you're University of Tennessee, you've already sold that ticket. So your money's in your pocket. But when it comes time for people who aren't season ticket holders to pick up tickets for games, okay, yeah, Alabama's going to be tough, Florida's going to be expensive, Georgia. But when you come to these non-conference games, I mean, literally people give them away by the fours and fives. So I do think that you would get more people in the stadium if you had a better product or a better opponent in there.
I agree with that, but do they recognize that, and do they put enough importance in who the opponent is for the
because once again, that ticket's already sold. That money's
because
already
at the end of the day, you're still trying to get bowl eligible. You're still trying to win, what is it, six games?
6 games, yeah.
So I think that's a factor too.
All right, guys. The date is set, July 1st. The anticipation is building. Tennessee has put out teases. We'll talk a little Nike when we come back. Some merchandise already on the shelves. If you haven't seen it, we'll show it to you. And also, we'll talk a little bit about Jimmy Cheek's guest commentary in the Sentinel today, talking about Tennessee's move to one brand and one Tennessee. Come on back on the Sports Source.
Quality, quick. Trust Fast Frame.